well. Anyway, guys, also follow us on IEM for Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. But for now, the countdown has begun for Grubby versus Fnatic's Oz, which should be pretty darn good. We're going to be opening things up in Entombed Valley, which actually I really like as an opening map for PvP.
I really do, too. It's going to tell you a lot about the mindset of these players. Entombed Valley, a map where many strategies are available to you, actually.
Yeah, I would agree. It got to that point at one point where... that was a terrible sentence. But it got to that point where some people were saying, well, you know, it's not that good a map for Blink and things like that, but you can still utilize it sometimes in order to get a lot of space in the middle of the map, and etc.
All right, well, let's introduce these players. Up here in the top right, he lost that first match. He's really looking to come back now. He is Fnatic Oz.
And spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner, guys, as our red Protoss. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Grubby.
Grubby with a lot of fans all over the world. He's the ultimate pro gamer, the one you want to look up to if you want to be a pro gamer.
Yeah. It was a bit of a shell shock for me, actually, when we were in China last week, just seeing like families of people want to take a photo with him, like not just the kids or the you know, people in their 20s or anything like that, but like actual parents, like coming up to Grubby and stuff and just wanting the picture with him. It was really kind of bewildering. He has around 700,000 followers on his Chinese Twitter, which is insanity.
That's a lot, man. Grubby's pretty big, but you know, Oz, he's maybe not that famous worldwide, but within Korea, at least, a very famous player because he is so good. You know, he's an old StarCraft 1 pro. And has been very good at StarCraft 2 so far, but as of late, his Protoss versus Protoss hasn't been what it used to be.
No. There was phases in Oz's PvP. There were transitionary periods. Initially, he started out super strong. And then there was this phase where, wait a minute, whose is that pylon? Oh, it's Grubby's. Never mind. A panic there for a second. And then there was that period where he said, there was no one who can beat me in PvP. It's not random. It's calculated. Everything I can do better than everyone else. And then he started going Nexus first from time to time. And that didn't work out too well.
No. In fact, he didn't win a PvP for like months after that.
Poor guy.
Yeah, but you know what? He's getting back on track now, and his PvP is really good. He has a lot of good ideas in it. But again, he plays in his own crazy style, so maybe not as stable as some other players.
Yeah. Last series was the first series I've actually ever cast of Oz, and I got a little bit of a taste as to how sporadic this guy can be in terms of actually casting him from our point of view. I've watched his games in the past and thought, well, yeah, wow, this guy's pretty creative, this guy's pretty wacky, but being up here actually casting him can sometimes be a bit of a minefield.
Yes, it certainly can. Well, you know, it looks like everything's kind of normal so far. Both players have gone for gas. Both players are getting out their Stalker. Grubby's a little bit quicker here. And Grubby going to go Robo, and Oz going to see that right away. So now Oz actually has this opportunity to counter the tech of Grubby. Does he perhaps throw down a Stargate?
Yeah, that could be very lethal. Phoenix are so annoying against this kind of robo facility play. Grubby going to stick with that even after it's been scouted. And Oz decides to go for a Twilight Council.
He can't help himself, man.
No, he can't.
Will not play the way that logic dictates you should. He sees a robo, and just to throw this out there for people that aren't huge PvP fans like myself and Colaris, you know, basically speaking, it's not like hard counters or anything, but robotics counters Twilight, Twilight counters Stargate, Stargate counters robotics. So you would think that he'd see this and say, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna go straight into, you know, not Twilight play because that's what this is gonna be good against." But I think I know what he has planned. Right? He's going up to 3 gates. He's getting a sentry. I think he's going to walk over, contain with Blink, and get a sentry at the bottom of that ramp and just stall out Grubby's expansion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were already speaking before this series started that, you know, there's going to be Blink play abound because both of these players have been very well known for their Blink play in PvP. And Oz is just not wanting to deviate one iota. He's going to stick with this until he dies, potentially literally.
Yeah, it could be. Well, Grubby actually throwing up his Nexus, as you would expect. Right now he has one Immortal out and an Observer on the way. So his second Immortal will be a little bit later, but we do have that Blink on the way. So as that Blink comes up, all Oz has to do is force Grubby up that ramp, which shouldn't be too hard, and he should be able to at least force a cancel on the Nexus, if not kill it, if he hits just right.
Yeah, that would be very, very nice here for him, as for now we just have constant Immortal production here for Grubby, and he's just trying to keep himself bolstered. He knows that, you know, if he just continues to make those Immortals and keeps cranking them out, sure, Phoenix could have come along in the long run, but having these Immortals as a base to secure an expansion, this is one of the technically safest expansion builds with the Immortals, but he has to fall back. He sees too many Stalkers.
And look at that. Force Field's a ramp. Grubby's going to have to cancel. There's no way for him to actually end up saving this as long as Force Fields go down. And that's going to actually... Oh, is he going to try? No, he's going to cancel. Okay.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, Oz getting up his Nexus, so his Nexus simply will be first.
Oh, wow. And look at this reaction by Grubby, going for that Warp Prism really, really quickly. He realizes exactly what's going on. He needs to make something happen. And look at that pylon placement by Grubby on the edge of his opponent's base.
I like it.
Yeah. That's very nice. He can, like, just go for the Warp Prism. He warps in straight away as the Warp Prism flies around. You have no reason to go for the phasing. And he's actually being able to see everything that's going on.
Yeah, and he's going to be able to warp in right now because that Observer gives him that high ground sight. Yeah. So this is going to be annoying and possibly draw back a bunch of the units of Oz here. And if that occurs, then he can just walk right down his ramp and be fine.
Yeah, he can be. He's trying to poke down. He's seeing where those opponent's units are moving. Right now, the Zealots are actually moving in here and trying to kill off a few of these probes. They've already got 2 worker kills. Really nice force fields there by Oz, limiting how much he's actually able to get in there. And meanwhile, the one Zealot is still powering away. They're almost getting a Sentry, trying to migrate as best he can, but it pins up against his own force field. And that Zealot doing a pretty good job. And even more on the way.
Oh, this is great move by Grubby here. In the meantime, he's getting a Colossus to be able to break down his own ramp. As long as he deals some good damage to Oz over here, it's not going to matter that his expansion isn't up yet because Oz isn't going to be able to mine at full efficiency.
Oh, look at that clutch gateway, just trying to limit how much positioning Grubby can get in that mineral line with these Zealots. But he's still killing off quite a lot. He's killed off 6 workers right now, and that's a pretty good spot for Grubby to be in.
Yeah, and, you know, I don't know how many more he's going to warp in. Well, I guess it's going to be 4. He also has a Warp Prism very near the expansion, so we'll see what he ends up doing with that. Can always warp in another location as well. But Oz seems to kind of have a hold. In the meantime, Grubby has actually broken down his ramp. It looks like Oz was too busy microing back home to actually stop him.
Yeah, that's a really, really nice call there by Grubby. It can be a little bit risky if he's watching the ramp, then he can throw it down the force field and be okay, but he sent in the Zealots at exactly the same time to try and find a little bit of pressure, try and draw his opponent's attention away. The Warp Prism's getting kind of feisty here with Stalkers. Tries to drop the Zealots, and the Warp Prism will end up dying here, but the Zealots trying to do more damage.
That's right, those Zealots going to town right now. Grubby is expanding behind this. All this time, Oz has had his Nexus up at his natural, but hasn't been able to mine, so that's a huge issue. And Grubby has killed off 9 probes.
Ooh, there's a really bad situation here potentially coming up for Oz. Right now, there's actually no sentries out, so he can't start controlling this ramp against... Oh, and he... Grubby decides to catch a ton of Zealots there. A nice pick-off. And right now, Oz might be in a little trouble. There's 3 Immortals. That's a lot of firepower.
It really is, and Oz doesn't have a lot of force fields up, so that's going to be an issue. And look at this, Grubby once again with these Zealots. Oz has not been able to deal with it. Also, some nice force fields going out, catching some of Oz's units, and Grubby's supply is taking a huge lead.
And most importantly, the Sentry was in there as well, so any kind of control that Oz would have over any battle has now gone. Those Immortals are going to start powering away. He can quite easily absolutely decimate this army. All the probes coming off. Oz realizes he's in trouble here, as the probes actually do a pretty good job against those Immortals. But for now, they're still coming up, trying to chase them down.
And look at that. Oh, I mean, nice probe surrounds, but the damage has been dealt. Grubby has killed him. Oz, GG's. Strong victory for Grubby.
Very, very strong indeed. He knew exactly how to control that situation after finding himself in a sticky spot when his natural was breached. And, I mean, it can be hard in PvP to make those decisions right there on the fly.
Yeah, I can. Now, you know, I'm not too surprised to see Grubby playing so well right now, because I have this little theory, right?
Yeah.
Grubby really loves the WCS and BWC tournament, the Blizzard World Championship, which he qualified for.
Yeah.
But he got food poisoning there. So you know, he kind of lost early on. I feel like he was in great shape for that, but didn't get to show it off.
Yeah, yeah.
So here we are 1 week later. He's got a little bit more rest. He's feeling better from the food poisoning. And I feel like he actually has a chance of taking out perhaps his first big-time event.
He potentially could do. That's a really, really good point, because WCS, he wasn't really looking in shape because of all the ailments that did plague him. So